Alright, for this week's fly we're going to go with Mike Schmidt's Double Deceiver. This is probably the most requested pattern that I have gotten to do. Going back a couple of months now, I've had, I don't know how many people asking me to do this fly, and I'm finally getting around to it. Sorry for the delay in that one, but we'll get right into this one. This is one of the best swim flies out there to this day, even with all of the new stuff coming out, all of the new materials. Just the classic Double Deceiver is one of the best swim patterns out there. Get zoomed in. The back hook is I like these lighter gauged wires. Get some of the junk out of there. Like I said, I like these lighter gauged hooks for this pattern. It just seems like it allows them to whip and swim a lot more than, you know, like the Gami, the B10S, or the A-Rex, or any of those out there now. These just seem to swim a lot better for me. This is the MFC hook that Kelly designed. It's a lot along the lines of a 2461 Daiichi, but that's what we got for our back hook. The front hook's actually a 2461 size 1. This one's a 4. So we're gonna get these Deceiver tails tied in here. It's just 2 tan Schlappen feathers. We can get these tied in real quick. Loose wraps until I see that everything's kind of going how I want it to. It's not falling off to one side or the other. Everything looks pretty clean right there. So now what I'm going to do is come back and really wrench down on these. If you want to, you can throw a little bit of zap on there. I don't really see it necessary. I've never really had a Deceiver tail fall out on me. But just make sure you get some good secure wraps on that, and call that good. Now the one thing you'll notice, I do this a little bit different on mine, and that's because when I first started tying these, my bucktail work really left a lot to be desired. I got it really sparse, a lot of times too short, and I'd wind up seeing the body. So to combat that, what I did was threw in some gold ice dub, or, you know, if I'm doing the rainbow one, or, you know, all white Double Deceiver, then I'll do silver in here. But that really was just putting a band-aid on the problem. The problem was my bucktail, well, it sucked for the longest time, so I finally got that fixed. So now, I mean, this wouldn't even really be necessary if you don't want to do it. Like, you watch Mike Schmidt when he ties his. First off, he can do these in like under 10 minutes. I mean, he can rip through these, but you won't see any, you know, just basically thread wraps on the bottom, because his bucktail is so good. It just covers everything up. It's seamless. It really is. So, speaking of the bucktail work, now I have to prove that I've gotten better. The good thing is you can't see the old patterns that I tied. They're around here somewhere, but I'm not going to go digging them out and showing you how bad they were. So, just like with anything else, I found that selecting material when you're in the shops is huge. There's certain things that you look for in bucktail. There's certain things that you look for in ram's wool that make your life a lot easier when you're tying, and this is one of them. You want these, like, you can't see it too awful well, but there's a nice wave to this material. It's nice and wavy. It's not all flat and matted down. Some of the bucktail that you get, for whatever reason, it can get really matted down and really flat, and it just won't move in the water how you want it to. it's just a mess to work with, and that may have been some of my problem back then. I don't know for certain, but maybe just getting bad material. But started getting some good material here, and I think it's made a huge difference as to the way these patterns look and how they fish. So we're just going to get this cleaned out a little bit. This is a pretty generous stack of bucktail, and then I want to measure this out. I want it going probably a quarter of the way back the deceiver tail, and I'm just going to transfer this over to my other hand, and we'll lay this out. Try and get rid of some of this garbage back here. If you need to, run it through a comb. This is non-compressible hair, so it'll make a pretty good bump right here, but we're going to reverse tie this, so it won't really make a huge difference. So go ahead and get your 1, 2, and your third one. I really like to cinch down on this. It really helps using this gel spun. You can really anchor this stuff down. And I'll just work my way back a little bit, throw in another couple of tight wraps. This gives me some room when I flip this all over, that it will make that nice rounded head that you're after on these. Doesn't really matter so much for the back because it's going to be covered up, but for the front you want that nice rounded head. I'm going to take a little bit less of this yellow just because mainly it stands out so much more than the tan. You don't really need as much of it. And same thing, I'm just going to clean this stuff out. Grab this a little way past the halfway point and just realign some of these tips. That way it gives you the bulk that you're after. And then some of this really short stuff back here, just get rid of it. Pull this stuff out, and just can't really overstate how important it is on, you know, working with bucktail in general, how important it is just to make sure that you're working with clean material. Can get away from you in a hurry. So take a little bit of extra time and just make sure that you have nice material to work with. Everything's clean, everything's organized, lined up as best as it can be. And then go ahead and throw this on here, work your way back, really wrench down on this, and then go ahead and trim that. Now, if you want to, you can go through and trim that stuff out. It's really not going to make a difference because you'll see as soon as we reverse all of this, it's all going to get covered up. So make sure that you have good coverage all the way around. Peel that stuff back. Try not to put the hook through your finger. And give it a couple of solid wraps. Oh, get back here, I got a little slick on me. There we go. Give it a couple of solid wraps, throw that toward the back, and then your underside, just kind of work that around the hook a little bit. You don't want to get caught up slightly. But then what I like to do with this is go right up to this thread dam that we have built up. Get the hook out of my finger again, and then I just whip finish right on top of this, and then I'll take some zap and just touch my thread up. just in case you go winding up getting a tooth or something comes through there with all that exposed thread. I just take a little bit of zap and run that right over top of my thread wraps. Gives me a little bit more security. But there we go, there's the back half of the double deceiver. Get that out of the way there. And we'll get this front hook in. Like I said, this is a 2461 size 1. We'll get this one tied in. I already got the wire pre-tied, save a little bit of rambling. And get the thread base down for the gel spun. Find a gold bead here real quick. Get that in. Just gonna go with one. Every once in a while I'll throw 2 of these in just to lengthen the connection out, maybe give a little bit more tail whip. But we're just gonna keep this with 1 bead today. Run this through here. And as always, I'm just gonna give it a couple of loose wraps, make sure that my distance is right. I want to extend that out a little bit. There we go. Give this a quick spin because my wire's going every which direction. And we'll finish getting that in. Once you have everything set how you want it, you can really secure these wraps in now. So as I go over this wire, I'm not really wrenching down on it. I'm just making sure that I have good firm wraps as I work my way up. And then when you're on your way back, if you want, maybe every 3rd or 4th, really give a solid pull on this just to lock in that wire. Like I said, it's not really necessary because we double the wire over, bring everything back. You're not going to pull that out, but just every once in a while, I don't know, old habits, I guess. I'll just give a couple good tight pulls on that and call it good. So we'll form another dubbing loop now. If you want, you can, make a little skirt right here. I probably wouldn't use Bucktail. I'd probably use maybe some marabou to cover that up, but I'm not really too worried about that. The Bucktail from the front is actually going to cover that up a decent amount, so we're not going to throw a skirt in this one. Same thing, we're back to this gold ice dub again. A little bit thicker on the front hook than I had on the back. I like it's a little bit of internal flash too that comes out with this, so just kind of work that. If the fibers are long enough too, this can also work as like a sort of a skirt, kind of a cover between your front and back hook. Fibers aren't the longest here, but there can be some cover. Just kind of pick that out. It'll bleed into the back a little. Every once in a while, just pull that stuff back. Keep working our way up to the front. The closer I get to the front, the more open I have the wraps there, as you notice, because a lot of that's not even going to be seen. That's all going to be covered up. The bulk of your bucktail is going to be right there, and it's going to cover all of this up. So, moving back to this here, I'm just going to get a couple thread wraps, work up toward the front, leave yourself a little bit of space. You don't want to be tying right on the eye here, so leave yourself a little bit of room. And then same thing, we're going to grab a generous amount of tan. Take this from the top here. There's a nice section of bucktail up there, so we'll use that one. Same thing, clean this stuff up. You can't get this stuff clean enough when you're working with it, really. I mean, it'll make or break your experience of working with bucktail. I know when I first started tying with it, I just grabbed a clump, threw it in there, and I was like, yep, that's good. It wasn't. So get that good and cleaned up. If you want to, just shift that around slightly in my hand. The bottom portion was a little bit shorter. There we go. Keep a pretty firm grip on that, and then when you pull down, when you really tighten this down, either pull straight up or straight down. If you pull off to the side or anything, it'll have a tendency to want to rotate that bucktail in your hand a little bit. So I just make sure that when I make that tight wrap that it's going straight up and down. And I'll just work my way back that just a little bit. There we go, things look pretty clean there. Now back to the yellow, and like I said before, I'm going to take less yellow than I do tan, just because the yellow does show up a lot better. So you don't need quite as much. Get this cleaned up. Get my fibers evened out pretty well. I don't take a ton of time trying to get these fibers lined up. With this bucktail, you could spend a good couple of minutes getting everything just right. It's just really not worth the time, quite honestly. And it kind of has a nice look when it's, you know, kind of just a staggered effect going forward. So we'll line this up, get them about the same length, one loose, make sure it's setting how you want, second loose wrap, and then third, remember, pull straight up and down, and then you can just work this to the back, tie it in, and then we'll trim that off. Now I will take just the slightest amount of blue on this. Every once in a while I will. I don't do this with all of them. A lot of times it's just tan and yellow, but I will take a little bit of blue on this one. You see some of the brown trout, they'll have that really neat looking blue tint on their cheeks. Not that I think this is going to imitate it whatsoever, but it just looks neat to me. So every once in a while I tie this stuff in with some blue. So I want this a lot shorter than the overall length of the tan, and a lot more sparse, just right over the top here. Get everything nice and clean, work this to the back, and then we'll trim this off. Now we're going to flip everything over. Like I said, these are both reverse tied. Try and keep the tan and the yellow separated best you can. Some of it's going to bleed over, I mean, it's just inevitable, but there we go, we got that nice and clean. And then I'm going to go right on top here, 1, 2 loose wraps, kind of, it's the beautiful thing about working with GSP, it's a little slick. Alright, take 2. 1, 2, third, tighten this up a little bit, and we're good to go. Now I will work on this one. I'll come right over to the actual eye of this hook and whip finish on the hook itself instead of following the thread path back here. It just seems to help a little bit with keeping that front from rotating, especially when you go getting into the really big, thick bucktail collars. It'll keep it from rotating some. I just like picking this stuff back a little bit. Just fluffing it out a little bit for the camera. Once it gets wet and in the water, it's going to do what it wants to do anyhow, but for the overall profile while it's on the vise, it gives it a little bit better of a look. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to throw some 7mm eyes right over these thread wraps. If you want, you can touch up the color of the GSP. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm going to take this Loctite gel. It's about the only stuff that I use anymore for gluing on these eyes. They really set in there solid, and it dries quick. Try not to get too much glue all over the place. This stuff dries really quick, and it's so easy to control. Not like Zap where it runs all over the place. This stuff won't run on you, so it's a lot easier to get your eyes locked in, and it's a lot cleaner as well. I'm just gonna make sure that this is gonna sit how I want it. There we go. Want to move. Wants to move. There. Got it on, and I didn't glue myself to the bug. That's a plus. So, that little son of a gun is not going to cooperate. Fix that little red wagon. There, more glue. That'll do it. Just as I was bragging on that stuff, it makes a liar out of me. Oh Lord. There. I made that more difficult than it needed to be, that's for sure. I'm having an issue with this. Don't teach me to talk good about the product again. It makes a fool out of me. Alright. Made a damn mess out of that. Last thing that I like to do with these is I'll take, and you'll see this little gap right here on this eye, between the eye and the bucktail. You wind up getting a little gap there, and sometimes, you know, if you get fish comes in there and catches it just right, it'll knock your eye off. So I'll just take a little bit of UV, run that right in between this gap. And hit this with a torch real quick. That should do it. There you have it. That is Mike Schmidt's Double Deceiver. As always, if there are any questions or comments on this one, leave them with me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you next week.